All right, welcome back to the Taskboard breakdown. As a reminder, this is looking at the sprint in reflection from May 27th to June 10th. We're going to look at the way that the ASM team is approaching the tasks that lie on their roadmap and how they're planning to use sprints to complete those. So I'll zip through exactly where we stand on that roadmap, and we'll just dive through them one by one. Okay, first up is the teaser website for the next Legends. That was previously in testing and is now complete. The next up is All-Star Animation action names for the AFA game, was also previously in testing and is done. Next up is Motion Capture POC. This is capturing the fighting performance and facial data for the next Legends. That was previously in progress and also knocked off the to-do list. Next up is Build Training to Visual Inference demo. This is for AI research, and it's to demonstrate some of the simple trainings. This was previously in testing and is done. Next up is Unity game dev related ML agents. This is also for AI research. It was to focus on the skill-based research, previously in testing, now done. A new entrant on the task board this week is the Lunaris device created. This is part of the lore for Asto Energy collection being ready. Josh pulled a rabbit out of a hat, and that is done. Next up is to review the infrastructure training performance. This is for AI research. It was previously in progress and is now done. Also for AI research that was in progress and is now complete is the validate, pass, shoot, tackle reward. Another AI research item knocked off the to-do list was integrate evaluation tasks into the training pipeline. This is collecting game statistics for newly trained teams. This was a part of AI research, previously in progress and done. Next up is the implementation of training. This is for the AFA game. It's passing, tackling, shooting training. It's a new entrant to the task board, and it's currently in the testing status. So I would imagine this has to do with the turning of knobs and dials that David talks about when we refer to the gamification of AI. Next up is the All-Stars Claim Contract Audit. This is for Asto. Last sprint, it was in testing. It's auditing for the new All-Star claim contract that's in progress, and it still sits in testing. So obviously spending some time making sure that the contract is buttoned up the way that it should be before we get to interact with it. Next up is to update the FAQ knowledge base. This is updating our FAQs to reflect more current knowledge for the AFA website. It was in testing the last sprint and still sits in testing for this sprint. Next is setting up rarity tools. This is for the AFA website. It was previously in progress and is now moving forward into the testing column. And this is setting the rarity scale for different traits of the AFA website. Next up is the Genesis Brain Origins. This is part of the lore. This is a story of how the brains came to be. It was on the to-do list previously, and it's jumped all the way into the testing column. So Josh removing Saturdays from his vocabulary. Also, a Josh item in the lore category is modeling Professor Jenny Bryan's ship. This is the preeminent brains researcher is almost ready to fly. It's a new entrant on the task board and is in progress. So I wonder what kind of crazy story part of AFA Moon this will be a part of. All right, next up is stress testing the training evaluation pipeline. This is for AI research. It's trying many different configurations of training and seeing if it breaks. It was on the to-do list. It's currently in progress, so they're making headwinds there. We'll see how it unfolds. Another new entrant to the task board is the football match camera system. This is for the AFA game. It's currently in progress. I wonder if it has anything to do with the leak that we saw at South by Southwest with the golden octopus. Only time will tell. Next up is the implementation of actions. This is for the AFA game. It's updating movement, tackle, shoot, and passing animations in logic. It's a new entrant to the task board this sprint, and it's currently in progress. So getting closer to that pre-alpha game release that the internal team will be able to interact with. Very exciting. Next up is building genome mining smart contracts. This is part of genome mining. It's a new entrant to the task board, and it's currently in progress. So we'll see what happens with what we expect to be the next big event coming in the pipe here for us to interact with. Next up is building the All-Star Claim Cortex UI. This is for the Cortex website. It's building interface to access the All-Star claims. We speculated a lot about what that meant in the last sprint. It was in progress, and it currently is in progress. So spending some time on it, making sure that it's right. Also part of the Cortex site is the genome mining design, the design of Gen 2 brains and the release mechanism there. Still in progress, so same category as the previous. Another one of those items is the All-Stars claim design. This is the design and scope for the All-Stars claim as a part of the Cortex website, still in progress. Another in progress item from the last sprint is the game logic cinematic. That's for the AFA game, and we talked quite a bit about what that could be in the last session. Another one of those items that is in the same category of in progress is building the genome mining UI. This is a part of the Cortex website, still working on that one. They're also still working on the contract inference for All-Star Claim. This is for ASTO. It's to prepare the interfaces for the All-Stars reverse claim contract. It was in progress in the last sprint, and it continues in the in progress column this time. Arena animations for the AFA game, creative and technical workflow, still in progress on all fronts. A new entrant for AI research is the QA internal training interface. This is currently in progress, so I wonder if it has to do with just making sure that the fidelity of training sessions are recorded. A new one for the ASTO category is the next exchange listing. That's in progress. So I would imagine we'll see some announcements on what the next exchange to buy ASTO will be. Okay, we've got a handful that are in the to-do list from the previous sprint and currently sit there today. One of those in the AI research category is the build an internal interface to train basic AFA models. This is for ASM employees. We'll be able to play a pre-alpha version of AFA. It's still on the to-do list. Next up is train agents to only do specific actions. This is for AI research. It's shooting, tackling, etc. It's a new entrant on the task board, and it is in the to-do column. And that wraps up the entirety of the sprint progress from May 27th to June 10th. So stay tuned. In a couple of days, we'll get the group back together and we'll take a more forward-looking approach to what lies ahead on the task board. In the meantime, have a great one.